phone. Okay, I just hung up my phone.
You're hearing me?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm on the phone.
okay, I just
Well, ended, so we're good.
I just
And now I need to go to where I can stop recording, stop video, no mute.
and now you want to send that message out to the Techsig,
Participants.
or do you want me to do it?
I've got to do it because I got a whole bunch of people. You can send it to the Techsig and I'll take care of the BCCs because I got a bunch of people in there.
All right, I'm sending it. Let me go to that.
Okay, invite participants.
I'm
Copy.
going CFCS Techsig. I'll send it to the Apple Sig. Apple Sig. CFCS Linux Sig. Okay, CFCS. Okay, I'm going to take it away. I'm going to open up my forwarding. And okay, I am sending it. Okay, it's sent. Now I have to find it. Come on, where are you? Do you still see me? You see me, Stan?
I went away from that. I don't.
Oh, all right. I hear you.
I
I've lost
moved away.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
looking for it. Hang on.
I do see you.
Yeah, okay, I got it. I got it again. Okay. Settings, background. I don't like that background. Custom image. Okay, temporary pictures. We went to BurgerFi for lunch last week, so I figured I'd share my BurgerFi burger. Hope everybody's had their dinner so this doesn't make them too hungry.
I'm already hungry and I haven't had dinner.
Bye.
I've been spending the last hour waiting and at the same time trying to get my systems working. So I haven't had time to stop and eat.
ZoHo is very confusing. Many options that are not self-explanatory. Differences between the desktop client and trying to do it online, and already some bandwidth problems that I'm detecting with the four of us on here.
Yeah, there's a little bit of I'm using the desktop client.
I said, excuse me, I set the desktop client up, and it's open. But when Stan sent me the link, it didn't go, even though I was signed into the desktop client and the same email address that the email invitation was sent to, it didn't open in the client. It opened in the browser.
Oh, yeah, I just copied and pasted the link into the app.
So I don't know if it'd be any better. It appears that you get a trial with ZoHo when you establish an account. Stan has 11 days.
Since I have, yeah,
I've got,
I've got 13 or 14.
and I don't think the hour limitation applies to the trial. I did set up a second conference. And if we start getting warnings that this thing's going to shut down in chat, I will put the link to the follow-on conference.
My discussion with Huey and the board of Stug suggested that there was some discussion going on about the merging of some of the people between this group and Stug. And if that were to happen, you'd probably just share the same Zoom meeting program that we already pay for.
But it's an in-work situation. Stan came up with a survey. Naturally, I managed to complicate it. But I said, well, let's take a survey that's just written in an email. Let's put it into Google Forms. And then Google Forms has lots of if then kind of questions. So if you answer a question a certain way, you can branch to another section of the survey. So if you say, yes, I want to do it, then you go to another section, answer questions about, yes, what you want to do. If you say, no, I don't want to do it, you go to another section of the survey and answer questions about that. So we're in the process of going through and refining the logic of the survey, setting it up so that Stan, Huey, and I can take the survey, see how our answers correlate with the logic flow of Google Forms, and see if we're getting the answers that we want based on the way the questions are asked. And if that's the case, then it'll be up to the CFCS board of directors whether to send that poll out to all of its membership.
Because I don't think, I highly doubt that there's anybody using the Stug meeting program right now. This is not a meeting time for Stug, other than this meeting.
Well, you've got some nice meetings besides your main meeting on Wednesdays. You've got your Q&A stuff, I think, on Friday, right?
I think Huey's doing his AI meeting on Friday.
Yeah, but it's like one Friday a month.
That's once a month.
Don't you have an every Friday Q&A of some sort?
No, we don't have an every week meeting.
See, that's part of what I thought Discord could do. You know, if Discord was up 24/7, and you and I seem to be on it every time we're on our computers. Anytime you thought you had a question, you see somebody else on, like Dick Vogel, and you just start up a conversation. And if you like, you can make it an audio or audio visual. And the next thing you know, you've got 8-10 people all talking and a very impromptu social gathering.
Now, does it support desktop sharing?
Yes. Yep. ZoHo. ZoHo
Because
actually is a clone of Zoom. It's not. I mean, Jitsi started out that way too, but ZoHo has webinars, which are specifically designed as webinars. Then it has meetings like we're on now. It's got the ability to do one-on-one chat. Haven't seen whether it's got the ability to do remote control. And if you go to ZoHo.com, there's a whole suite of applications that they've built.
there's a ton of Zoho apps.
Yeah, there's a
You know, they have CRM and meetings and help desk and tech support, and you could spend a ton of money on Zoho stuff.
So the real key is how is the overall bandwidth? So when we did this, if I'm not mistaken, we did it pre-pandemic or maybe just after pandemic started. But we actually went through. We were using Skype. We were using Google Hangouts. We were using, and then Google went not to Google Voice, Google Talk,
Meet.
I think.
Oh, Talk and then Meet.
And then Meet. And we Microsoft had something besides Skype, maybe it was you mentioned one today that Bob G mentioned. I never heard of it.
Bob G said that he did a meeting last week, or I don't know if it was last week or the week before, where he participated as a speaker as a guest in another meeting that particular group used that program, and he said it worked fine.
I see Clint is on. The Chicago group uses a couple of different teleconferencing software. I sat in for a while on the Northwest Chicago group talking about AI this morning, but it didn't look like Zoom. It looked like maybe Jitsi or ZoHo. I wasn't quite sure what they were using. And ZoHo will live stream to YouTube.
YouTube, yes, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
Linkable account.
But we're already having some audio problems.
Yeah, I can hear burbles.
You can? I'm hearing you guys perfectly.
Good. Paul, how are we coming through for you? You there, or did you walk away? Did you walk away? Dick, how are we coming through to you? Voice-wise.
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, good. And you've got the ability to choose how you see your video. Like if Drew, if you were giving a presentation, we could pin you to our screen. You can also arrange things. Let me just see here. Fit video. Let's see where that arrangement is. There's a picture in picture. There's a full screen. Layout, tiled. Okay, so if you go to the three dots at the bottom of your screen on the Windows browser, and you go to change layout.
Yeah, there's an option. Change layout. There's tiled, active speaker, sidebar, top bar.
Yep. Top bar. When you go to sidebar, top bar, the active speaker shows up in the big screen. The others show up. Tiled.
I've got it in tiled.
Gallery.
Um,
Paul, I see your sort of your head and shoulders there. How's the audio and video coming in for you? I think maybe he's on his ham radio group.
I don't see. I don't
see his
see. I've only got 6.
7
Paul,
o'clock is a normal meeting time for the ham radio check-in.
And Dan's got some.
You know, it's hard to tell who's coming, who's that coming from.
Clint, how are we coming through audio and visual?
Ted? Hey, I just said, it went out to the Techsig and I sent it to you separately. So look again in your mail.
Oh, crap.
We had some problems getting it started, but it should be there now.
Jeff Glassman, how are we coming through?
Coming through just fine. No problems here.
Okay, good. There's a lunch group here in Orlando that I'm a member of. Paul Colton is a part-time member as well. And on Wednesdays, we go to different different restaurants in the Central Florida area. And right around the first of the year, we started going to every other time we would go to a hamburger joint. And we said, we're going to try to find the best hamburger in the Orlando area. So behind me is the BurgerFi double burger. And I don't remember what I had put on it. Looks like I've got tomatoes and onion rings. And I think there's a fried egg up in there somewhere. And a bunch of other stuff that made it kind of tasty and very hard to get in your mouth and very messy. So
you pick up the Orlando Weekly newspaper that's free, and they have a section on it. They give you sort of a summary from time to time as well. And also the Orlando Sentinel has a very good food editor now. I think I can send you a copy of that link.
Well, we started at a real nice southern restaurant in Oviedo, Florida, bedroom community, college bedroom community, and used to be a celery community. All the celery fields now have apartment houses, but they have an old timey place called the Oviedo Townhouse, and their insert right on, for hamburgers says unabashedly the best hamburgers in Orlando. So we went there the first week to try this system out, and most of us had hamburgers. And the waitress asked us, okay, how are you rating us? And I said, well, it's on a scale of 1 to 10, but we can't give you a 10 because then nobody else could compete against you. So we're going to start the evaluation off on a scale, on giving you a 7. So that's better than halfway, and it's almost up to, to the top of the rating scale. But everyone else now we can compare against you. And we found some that were 8s, and we found some that were 5s and 6s. And we sort of did a playoff last week for semifinals. And this BurgerFi burger, most everybody that was there agreed that it was an 8 to 8.5. And Paul didn't make it. And unfortunately, Paul, no, the fries don't come automatically with it. You got to order those. So I don't know what we're going to do to continue this. I think we may go back to Red Robin, which is a franchise if some of you have Red Robin in your area. And they make custom burgers, which are pretty good. And they were also a 7.
They do have a great burger and endless fries and 10% off if you're military.
Yep. And I think if I remember correctly, it's $10 Tuesday because I'm constantly getting ads for that, for the burgers on Tuesdays that are $10.
I see
Hello.
Sean.
Hello, Sean.
Sean Kane just joined us. Welcome.
How's the audio and video at your end?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, little
Great.
broke.
Okay. I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, we had some issues starting, folks. What I think the problem was in the chair here. I wound up, what fixed it was when I closed everything and then started my computer, it worked. And I'm going to mute myself. I got another call coming in.
You want to do well, okay. I was going to say, I think you started the recording, did you not? Let me see if it shows. Yes, it says it's recording. Okay. So this is the Central Florida Computer Society's Technology SIG, or Techsig, for March 26th, 2024. And we are playing with ZoHo as one of the video conferencing systems that we're looking at as an alternative to keeping our subscription with Zoom alive and maybe reducing some of our costs, depending on where the Central Florida Computer Society goes from here. And that's still being looked at by your board of directors, and also the membership poll, which hopefully will be out to everybody that's in CFCS in the next couple of weeks or a week or so, once we make sure that the poll asks what it is that everybody on the board wants to know, that was validated for the question flow. We're using Google Forms, which is a free survey kind of program. It does a pretty good job. Used to use SurveyMonkey, but their free surveys now are very limited. You have to pay to get a good survey from them. So we're doing that. And I'm trying to think what I've been involved with technically wise that would be of interest to everybody. I've been working on a number of computers for friends, two recently that the owners just could not get them to boot. And one had been retired, semi-retired. It was his sister's. She passed on. Tom Alt, who's been on our group a couple of times. And he asked me if I would go in, make it bootable, take the password off, that kind of thing, and so that he could just get into it and start using it. And I found that I could not. I tried Hiron's boot disk, and I could not boot. I could not boot it. The only thing I could get to from the keyboard were the BIOS, UEHI, and the I couldn't even get to the boot sequence menu. But I could also get to the alternate recovery partition. It was an HP that's about 5 years old. And from there, I could say restore to factory conditions, and it put a fresh copy of Windows 10 that had been stored on that partition to make it just as it was when it was originally shipped to his sister. No passwords, no data, obviously, and none of the programs that she had put on, only the basic stuff that came. And it started doing updates, and it was about 3 days later that it finished doing all of its updates. And the second computer was another computer that I was working on that after a Windows update slowed down and made it very difficult to boot. Sometimes it would boot, sometimes it wouldn't. And on YouTube, there's some videos that talk to the fact that the several times now in the last 3 months, Windows 10 especially, but also Windows 11 have come out with updates that were corrupt. Microsoft Windows quality control has not been very good. And I talked to Huey about this a little bit because he was having problems with Zoom and with Zoom locking up and with voice and picture synchronization not matching. And a couple of times he had to restart his computer during the Windows SIG, and I think recently during yesterday's Tech for Senior, he even had to restart his computer. So that one, I'm still working on that particular computer, but you've got to find the update that was causing the problem. And you've got to remove it and then keep it from installing itself. So that one's a work in progress. Stan, you ready to talk about your technology challenges, or are you still working on getting people?
Sorry, Mike. This does not have closed caption, and you're not close enough to the mic for me to hear everything you're saying.
Okay, I will get closer.
That would be great. And I have a question for you, and maybe somebody's got a TV on in the background.
Not me.
Oh, I guess that's my ham radio. I forgot I turned on the mic.
Well,
I'm good to go now until 7:30.
You'll just have to mute yourself, please. Ted Goodwin clicked on the email and it said the address was incorrect. He closed his browser, opened it again, started, got the same thing. Forrest also was having problems, couldn't get in, and I couldn't make out exactly what it was, but I don't know. And the fact that it doesn't have any closed caption is reducing its wonderfulness to me. Well, what was your question, Mark? Am I ready to do what?
Are you ready to talk about your technical challenges?
Well, the one challenge I will talk about is the issue that I had with the printer that I acquired. It's a $700 HP all-in-one Super Pro, sitting right here beside me. It's a HP Office Pro 8715. It's discontinued, and it had original cartridges in it, and everything was fine until suddenly it wasn't fine. It said you need a black cartridge. Using the HP, I was able to say it gave me an option to use the other 3 cartridges and make a black using all 3 cartridges, and that worked for about 2 weeks. Then when it stopped, I wound up using Izzy, the guy who spoke to the Computer Society maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and whose address was on the website. He sent me a set of XL, the large ones, 4 cartridges for $35. Put it in, and it said, "These are not bona fide HP cartridges, and your printer is not designed to run on non-HP cartridges." I called him, and he said, "Damn," and he sent me another set of 4, and the message was different, but it also didn't work. And he said, "Well, I can't help you." He said, "That's why I tell people not to use HP." However, I just decided to look on Amazon, and Amazon had a set of the 4 XLs, also $35, coincidentally. I got them the next day, put them in, and no problems whatsoever. So it interesting how many choices they can get. But I thought there was something where you hold down 2 keys and start it, that there were ways to trick that. And Izzy said, no, HP has put a lot of money and time into making sure those kinds of things didn't work. And yet Amazon had a solution and came up with a set of cartridges that got past it. There was a button that I had to press. It said, "These are not bona fide HP cartridges. It may not work properly. Do you want to proceed?" I said yes, and it worked. So that's the end of that story.
When I heard that from you, Stan, previously, my comment was that I gave up on HP printers a couple years ago because we were having all kinds of problems, both cartridges and sometimes just locking up printing or getting things out of the storage before the queue before it would actually print. And I had to run HP Print and Scan Doctor, and multiple times, over and over and over and over and over, until finally I said, that's it. And I just took 2 HP laser printers that were still very good, still operated, put them on the curb, put the extra cartridges out there, and went and got 2 Brother laser printers and never looked back. I haven't had a single problem with them.
I've had those problems too, and HP, they do it with their laser printers as well. Unfortunate.
I have a Brother laser printer, and I really like it, except for printing envelopes. It is just terrible for printing envelopes. The process for printing envelopes is you have to turn the printer around from what you would consider a normal operating position so you can get to the back. Then you have to open something in the back and open a little window, and then inside you have to readjust some, I guess they're guides, and then supposedly you can print envelopes. Well, I did that, finding it a terrible nuisance, and the envelopes come out crimped and messed up, and it just was not worth it. So I no longer print envelopes on the laser printer.
So is a typewriter.
I lost my typewriter years ago.
Another solution might be if you were to get Avery labels and, print out. I'm not sure that you could do them one at a time, but you wouldn't want to have to do a whole page of the same address unless it was something that let you mail that to that person on a regular basis. Just a thought.
Again, too much bother.
Okay, yeah.
I do have an HP inkjet
Yeah,
that I use for the envelopes, and it works just fine.
And I just saw a note that Forrest was able to just get. Hello, Forrest. You made it.
He's muted.
I'm going to put in chat a link to a live meeting, AI meeting transcriptions for ZoHo. I don't think it's the same thing as captions. Let's see if I can click here. Got to find out where I can. There we go. It's in chat. But it looks like it adds transcriptions rather than live captions, and it's an add-in. Not sure it's free, if it's free, but
How much is ZoHo?
it's free for less than an hour, or for an hour meeting. But let's see, ZoHo pricing. $5 per host per month, billed annually. Gives you 50 participants. Cloud recording storage of 5 gigabytes. 2 co-hosts, meetings for up to 24 hours. Personal room, annotation. Include annotation, sharing your screen. Custom virtual background. So even the backgrounds that we've put in are just in the 14-day trial. I'll put that in the chat also.
Oh, yeah.
What is ZoHo? I found it interesting. I didn't have to download anything. I just clicked the link. Boom, I'm here. So I'm kind of curious. Am I actually running an extension in my browser, or what am I looking at?
ZoHo is a client very much like Zoom, and it's web-based, but it does have a desktop. for Windows and I think for Mac. And if you go to just ZoHo.com, you can see all of the apps that they sell. Again, education apps, healthcare apps, government apps, retail apps, banking apps, small business enterprises, remote work, team meetings, remote meetings. So, work at home, I guess.
I'm running Ubuntu here, Linux, and I'm surprised that it works flawlessly, no problems whatsoever.
What are you using in Linux?
Ubuntu. Ubuntu.
Does work on Linux. And one of the things that attracted me is that it doesn't have a waiting room, and that somehow they've gotten rid of the problem with Zoom bombers. So you don't have to be as security conscious. You know, we had one of our meetings, one of our main meetings, that somebody got in who was not a bona fide attendee, and then somebody else picked up on him. The guys, the first guy was like Hassan or something like that, and then the second guy said, "Hey, Hassan, we don't want your kind here." And, you know, that was 2 issues of bombing, and that was why we had to get a lot more proactive in terms of having a waiting room. And if the person admitting didn't recognize the attendee, they wouldn't let him in or ask him questions, that sort of thing. So not having to worry about that, I thought was a worthwhile to explore it. And it did seem relatively simple to set up. I was able to get the background with my 2 cars in the driveway relatively simply. But as I say, there is no closed captioning. So for anybody else who might be hard of hearing, that is a problem. And I'm not sure that like for the board of directors, we've had some issues with the complexity of Zoom, and one guy with an iPad seems to always have problems, and I thought this might be good for him, and somehow he managed to not get in today with the bad address. So I don't know. It was worth a shot.
Well, we can go back and do the kinds of things we did the last, go around. We can give Jitsi a try again. Sean was using it regularly. Sean, how did Jitsi perform for you when you were using it for the Apple VI?
It was out of 100, I'd give it maybe a 75. So it was okay. It was, you get what you pay for. So it was, and for that, it was actually pretty good. So.
Did it have closed
Now,
captioning?
75% of comparing it to Zoom, or
No, just over. Yeah, I would say Zoom was a better product. I wound up paying for Zoom for a while. I've since stopped doing that. Yeah.
I remember, Mike, when we were using the Jitsi, most of those programs back a couple years ago had bad audio, and occasionally the video would pixelate.
Well, a couple of years ago, we've all improved our internet connections these days. What used to be standard, like 50 megabits per second, went up to 100, and then went up to 200, then went up to 500. Lots of people have 1 gig, and the prices are about what they paid for standard internet back then. So things have significantly improved.
Hey, I have in a few minutes, I'm going on a ham radio thing, so I'll be here, but I'll kill my audio. But I had an AC problem this week where the heat strips in my secondary AC unit in the back of my house, which is my wife's art studio. When it was cold a couple weeks ago, I could tell that the heat wasn't hot enough, and I measured it with an infrared thermometer. So I ended up, the air handle is up in the attic through her closet. So it's a little bit of gymnastics to get up there. So I spent most of the day on it, and until I figured out the circuitry and what was happening, there's no instruction manual. It's, I know the basic electronics, but I ended up taking the relay down. I tested it here with a DC power supply. It looked fine. I put it back up there, and there was a delay when the heat strips came on. I ended up using 2 meters, one to check the AC on the heat strips, the other to check the AC stimulus for the relay contacts. But they use a rectifier assembly to it's a DC relay, but air conditioning systems work over 24 volts AC. So they rectify it because DC relays are more stable. Anyway, so I didn't realize this little piece had a built-in time delay. But after I got done screwing around the whole day and it started working, I couldn't find anything. I spent a lot of time on this and it's still working. I check it every morning and it's working. So I don't know what changed, whether it was a bad Molex connector, which is the stimulus for the rectifier assembly, which goes to the relay. So, so now I'm just, I got a real good handle on it. So I know how to troubleshoot it much quicker now. So that was my excitement for this week. And then spending a lot of time over at the airplane. It's annual time. So I've been going out to the airplane every other day or every 4th day. And I've really been, any extra time I've got, I'm out at the airport. So that's where my time's been going for the last couple of weeks. So that's my 2 cents. And I'm going to kind of sign off now.
Hey, Paul, did you get a drone yet?
Not yet. And I need to call you. I keep wanting to call you. And I keep wanting to call you. I got a lot of stuff to tell you, but I just can't even find the time to call you.
Okay.
But I will.
I've been waiting for your call, and the phone is
Yeah. I got a little story for Ethernet to talk to you about. So.
All right. Cool.
Anyway, I'll catch you soon.
Okay. Sounds good, Paul. I think I'm getting hungry looking at that hamburger.
Yeah. Drew, I know you.
Hey, guys,
Go ahead, Stan.
I just had something flash in my mind. How many of you guys remember Ozzy Osbourne? He was a member maybe 4 or 5 years ago, not terribly active, but his claim to fame was that he lived on the coast. And when they were talking about creating another telephone area code, it was he who came up with the idea of using 21 for that 3-letter area code. And he was able to get enough people behind it that he's considered the father of 321. So on the news broadcast on NBC News last night, they happened to mention him, brought that up. It was a story about the launches. And they mentioned that, of course, he passed away last year, which I hadn't been aware of. So another one bites the dust.
That was it written up in his obituary.
You happen to see his obituary some point?
Yeah, back when he passed away, I thought, yeah.
I missed it.
Drew, I know you've been working on a few things that you sent out an email to the Techsig on. You want to summarize what you've been doing?
Well, basically, it had nothing to do, it was a coincidence that backup month was happening. But I belong to a group in New Jersey called I forget what the name of it is. They're in Trenton, New Jersey. And I found out about them through AppCug, and they're a Linux group, and we meet once a month. And one of the members wanted to build his own network attached storage server. And I've always been toying around with the idea of having a NAS machine, but what I decided to do was he was doing the project and got me involved in it, and he decided to go with a product called Open Media Vault and put that on an old box. He put it. I would have gotten a cheap new one, but he used a retired PC that for his NAS server, and he purchased iDrive cloud storage. Managed to score a year's worth of storage for $8, $9 a month for the year. And I set up a virtual machine of Open Media Vault and learned how to use it, and learned how to install the iDrive for Linux client software. And he is now successfly backing up his computer to the NAS drive. He has his data. He's doing it more locations than I would, but he has everything on his computer. He has it replicated over to the NAS, and then he's got it backed up to the cloud twice. And he takes image disks of the thing, so he goes a little bit overboard. But that prompted me to look at another product called TrueNAS, and I got involved with TrueNAS last week. And after installing the TrueNAS server, which I thought was going to be just a little bit more enhanced than the Open Media Vault, I discovered that it was way more advanced than Open Media Vault. And it has, TrueNAS offers free third-party software programs in what they call Docker containers. And they're all pre-configured, pre-packaged servers. And there's over 100 of them. And what I ended up doing this past week was installing not just the NAS server, but I installed my own Bitwarden server. There's actually a product out there called Vault Warden, which is a rewrite of Bitwarden, and TrueNAS packages it up in Docker, and you just basically click a couple of clicks of the mouse, and it installs the server for you. You don't have to know anything about how to install the server. And I now have a working Bitwarden server running in a virtual machine. My PC is very taxed out right now. It's very stressed out because it's booting Windows 10. It has 32 gigs of RAM, but 10 of it is being allocated to the NAS and VirtualBox at the same time that I'm running the meeting and my VPN and Windows apps and all of that, everything. So I'm running out of my 32 gigs of RAM. I need to go to a 64 gig machine or get another machine. But I have now on my phone and on Windows, I have my Bitwarden client apps, the official ones from Bitwarden and the Google Play App Store are now configured to use my virtual server. And I have all of the features that are available in the paid version of Bitwarden. I can share files with people. I can, do everything that you can do for their paid version on my own server. And I secondarily installed another cloud server called Nextcloud, which is a very interesting product. That is it's a do-it-yourself at-home cloud server, and it lets you stream all of your data to the internet, and it's got an Android app and an iPhone app and a Windows app, and I have right now I'm an Evernote subscriber, and I've been paying for Evernote for a long time, and it's getting expensive, and I wanted to move off it. And I've been using Joplin, which is a competitor, and it's open source, and it has the ability to import Evernote notes, which is a key factor. And they sell hosting services that give you all of the features. And if you host it yourself, like I have it right now on my OneDrive, I don't have all the features. Now I have, as of this past week, my own Joplin server running in my container. So I have Joplin and Bitwarden and the TrueNAS and the Nextcloud, and I installed a Plex server. I installed a remote control software program. I've got like 5 servers running on top of the NAS, on top of VMware, on top of VirtualBox, on top of Windows. So my machine is not very happy right now. But there's a product, a virtualization software product out there called Proxmox. And it's a virtual machine operating system that is designed to be used in data centers and large scale environments. And you can provision all kinds of virtual environments, move virtual machines from one piece of hardware to another. And it's open source. And what I'm probably going to look to do is get a new machine, maybe like a little mini with a lot of RAM and a lot of disk, and boot it up with Proxmox. And Proxmox has data recovery and data redundancy. So if I get mirrored hard drives, they claim that you can, even if one of your hard drives fails, the server will continue to run off the other hard drive until you have the opportunity to replace the one that died. And they've got a nice video on how to replace the boot drive of a failed server. And once I have that running, that will be the base platform that the computer boots from. And then I'll have a TrueNAS server running in there. And then inside TrueNAS, those other servers. And then separate from that, a Windows virtual machine and maybe a Linux Mint virtual machine, and have a lot of servers running off of one piece of hardware. So that's what I've been playing with for the last several weeks. So I'm going to have, if I spend probably maybe $500 or so on a machine, have all of my own servers hosted in my spare bedroom and get off some of the cloud servers that I'm on. But I'm also doing it just part for the learning process. But it's been an interesting learning experience to actually be able to install all these servers. I've got to learn how to do certificate signing. All my HTTPS certificates are invalid certificates because they're just running on my local host in a virtual machine. They're not a valid certificate for a domain. So Firefox, browsers complain that I'm connecting with HTTPS, although it says I'm insecure because it doesn't like my certificate. So I need to learn how to. I generated my own certificates today, only I don't think I did them right, and that's going to be a learning process.
Are you, Drew? Are you your own certificates? Are those self-signed certificates, or are you using like?
Yes.
So have you looked into?
Yeah, I found a website that lets you punch in whatever information you want, and it generates your own self-signed certificates that you can then import into your browser and your apps.
So have you heard of Let's Encrypt?
No.
So look into that. I'm going to see if I can find. There's a great guy on YouTube by the name of Tom Lawrence, and he I don't know if he's done anything lately with regards to Let's Encrypt, but I know he's talked about it on occasion. And it's free. And a lot of sites use it now for that reason. It's free, and it's a valid, trusted
And what is the name? What is the name of it again?
Let's Encrypt, all one word. It's probably let'sencrypt.org. Encrypt.org. My guess. Yeah, I'll put a link in here. You've got it. Yeah, I'm looking for see if he's got anything with regards to Let's Encrypt, because he walks you through how to set it up.
Yeah, I have a website that I went to that lets you do it, but you have to know what to type in. And that's what I don't know yet, is whether I should be using the IP address or the word localhost, or
No, you're not going to use localhost. You need to, and I have not done this, but I understand what you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to take care of it at your firewall or at a device inside your firewall that handles the certificates. And you make a wildcard certificate for anything in your domain. Do you have a domain already?
I own my own domain, but I don't host it out of my house.
So
what I have
in order to have trusted certificates, you'll need to set that up. You need a trusted authority like Let's Encrypt. And our reason I Let's Encrypt is it's free. You could pay for it or something, but when you can do it for free and it's just as good.
I have a program that I found on GitHub called MKCert, which is a zero config tool that locally trusted environment that gives you a locally trusted development certificate with any name that you want. And I do have a valid dynamic DNS. So I have a valid name, like it's my dog is Abby. So I have abbyhouse@asus.com. And I have because I have an ASUS router, and it's an ASUS-based dynamic DNS. So I have a worldwide routable dynamic DNS name that I have from my house that I can put into the certificate. And right now, I'm just doing everything inside a virtual machine. So the server is running inside a VM with a NATed address, and I've got port forwarding going to my host, and I don't have it routing over the internet yet. Right now, it's just and the servers, when they got installed, the way that I did it, they all, the browser, when it says invalid certificate, it actually comes up with a certificate that says localhost, and that's what I'm using is a certificate called localhost, and Brave doesn't like it.
It has to be a trusted. It has to be a trusted certificate from a certificate authority that's trusted. I put a couple of links in the chat. One is for the Let's Encrypt site, but the other one is for Tom Lawrence from Lawrence Technology Systems. He has a whole video on it and how to set it up. And that's one of the videos. He's probably got more than that. But Tom Lawrence, he also is big into the TrueNAS and Proxmox or XPNG. Something XPNG is the other one that's the competitor to that. I mean, they're similar, just a little bit different. So he might be a wealth of information for you. That link to that video, if you go to his primary set of videos, there's all kinds of stuff that you would find relevant.
Yeah, thank you. I'll do that. There's an open source virtual machine software that I can't remember the name of that I've avoided using because it doesn't have a graphical user interface. It runs on Linux only, and it has no GUI. It's all command line, and it's like VirtualBox or VMware, but it's got no user interface. And Proxmox is a graphical user interface front end for that virtual machine.
Is there a cost for Proxmox, or is that free?
Proxmox is open source.
Okay. The other one's called XCPNG, and I don't know if it's open source or not. I think it might be, but I'm gonna look and see XP. XC PNG. Yeah, it's open source as well. Not that you're looking for that. Not. I know. I realize you're probably not looking for that, but that's something else. I think Tom uses the XCPNG, but there's also. Have you watched anything on YouTube with LearnLinux.tv? With Jay, his name's Jay.
No, I haven't done any learning videos yet. I've been muddling my way through it by myself, and I've gotten all of the servers to work to some degree, but none of them perfectly. So I need to go back and do some learning.
So Learn Linux TV is another wealth of information, and he and Tom are friends. They both live out they're in the Detroit area, and they became friends because of YouTube. And they actually now live close to one another. I'm going to send you a link to the Learn Linux TV. They're, it's free. It's free. Obviously it's YouTube, so it's a great resource. I have my business pay for YouTube Premium, so I don't have to watch the commercials, because I use YouTube all the time to learn things. And I watch Tom Lawrence, and the Learn Linux TV. In fact, they have a show that they do weekly on Wednesdays called the Home Lab Show, and you might find that interesting as well, where they just talk about things like we do.
Yeah, here it is. Yeah, here it is. Proxmox VE uses a product called QEMU/KVM, and QEMU is the virtual machine platform that Proxmox uses, and they put a browser-based GUI on top of it so that it makes it easier to use. And then I do a lot of virtual machine work right now. I've always done a lot of virtual machines, and with different operating systems, Windows, Linux, and the Proxmox will let me do all of that on a central box and not have to run the virtual machines on my my laptop that I use. I can just remote control into the Proxmox server.
What kind of machine are you using for the virtual machine host?
Well, right now I'm just using a Dell XPS laptop with an i7 processor and 32 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte hard drive. So I'm using all 32 gigs of memory right now with what I'm doing. And
that's what you're talking about, going to 64.
Yeah.
So in the chat message, when you first started talking, you scroll up a little bit. I just purchased. It's funny that you're talking about this, because yesterday I pulled the trigger on I found this pretty good deal on. I got an email. I think it's a Slick Deals thing, and it's a Minis Forum UM690 Pro. I got it with bare bone, but you can get it with RAM and SSD. But I'm going to throw that stuff in there. But it looked like a pretty good machine to use as a Proxmox server. I'm not sure if I'm going to use Proxmox or XCPNG. I'm just going to have to figure that out. But I also wanted something with good graphics, and it seems to have good graphics as well. What are you using for your Plex server? Is that the same machine?
Right now, well, my Windows computer boots up and runs VirtualBox, and then VirtualBox I installed the TrueNAS software, and then inside TrueNAS you can create these Docker containers that are virtual servers that you get from TrueNAS. And so inside my computer only sees one virtual machine, the TrueNAS machine, and TrueNAS is virtualizing inside there the Joplin server, the Plex server, the SyncThing server, the Vault Warden server. They're all running on the same machine, and they all want to use encrypted connections and SSL, and every server wants to use the same ports. I'm already using port 443 on my Windows machine for OpenSSL, for OpenSSH. And so I tried port forwarding port 443 from the virtual server into the host, but I can't because I'm already, so now I have to move, I can move OpenSSH from port 443 to some other port. So
shouldn't that
I
be
can-
422?
or,
I've
yes,
always
that
used
is, yeah,
22.
you're right. 443 is
Mail.
different from, yeah.
IMAP. Secure IMAP.
My TrueNAS server is using port 443, and something on my machine is using port 443 because when I do a netstat in it or a PS, I can see it. And
I think
so
that can
I
all be
wanna get-
controlled in Docker. You can tell Docker to use a different port. Is what you're thinking about doing, right? For like individual Docker containers.
Yes.
Is that a graphical user interface in TrueNAS, in the TrueNAS for the Docker containers?
Yeah, it's actually quite elegant. And it's I installed 5 servers over the course of 3 days and configured them all to work. And they were all servers that I never, ever would have imagined being able to install myself.
TrueNAS running in a so TrueNAS is running as a virtual machine?
Right now, normally you would run TrueNAS on the bare bones hardware. That's the way that you would normally run it.
Right.
And inside the admin console, there is a place to set up virtual machines. And it's grayed out right now because it knows that I'm running in a virtual machine.
Right, and then you've got Docker containers, which are inside of that, right?
Yes. So I've got double virtual machines and multiple ports that are conflicting with each other. And my Windows, I can't even ping my host by name anymore because it doesn't know where to go. It's like, I need to get it off my laptop and have my laptop only be a laptop and not be 5 servers in one and a laptop.
Right. Is that your production laptop, or is that a separate one that you've had?
No, this is a production laptop that I bought. I have 2 production laptops, one on Windows 10, one on Windows 11. And this is a Windows 10 machine that has the 32 gigs of RAM in it. And I've got a fast, I got, what do you call them? Those lightning, not lightning, but Thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt,
and I have an external drive, and I run virtual machines off of an external SSD on the, because I ran out of disk space on the 1 terabyte drive. And so I have a 4 terabyte external drive on the laptop that I run VMs on. And so I need to get another box and move all this stuff off and have the laptop just be a laptop.
That link that I sent to that the Minis Forum UM690, it's $350 for that little. It's a, I don't know if you call that a micro PC or a mini PC, similar to a NUC.
Yeah.
And it's a Ryzen, so it's got pretty good as far as it's a Ryzen processor, so it's pretty good as far as power management. Ryzen AMD is better than, in my experience, has been better than Intel when it comes to eating up power. And that might be a good option for you. I don't know if that has,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure that
I've been investigating hardware. I have a 4-port Thunderbolt dock that it's not one of those little $30 things that you get from Amazon. It's like a $200 4-port hub that gives you the throughput that you need to have 4 fast hard drives running at the same time.
Well, this thing has a USB 4 port, has 2 of those, and USB 3.2 Gen 2.
Yep.
So it's got pretty fat. I mean, it's not Thunderbolt, but it's.
Is there a way to
pretty darn-
squeeze out?
I'm sorry.
In the chat, is there a way to save chat?
I
How do I get all this stuff out of here?
I did a cut and paste, and I have it in a WordPad document. And I'm recording the whole thing, so I'll be able to send this out to everyone. But we are at 1 hour and 10 minutes out of our 1 hour. So, Mike, would you put into the chat the link for the second part if we're going to do that?
I don't think we need it, Stan, because you're in your trial and the trial gives you 24-hour meetings. You're actually supposed to get a pop-up.
Yeah, I think that we're
to go.
So it's not going to cut us off.
I think that we're good for today.
We're good.
No, I don't think it's going to. It would have done it already.
Drew, I have two questions for you. Number one, a technical question. Are you seeing what we see on your picture? Because there's a black blob that keeps going over the entire screen. It comes and goes. You mentioned that you were having an issue with your lights.
It's getting dark in here. I've got a lighting problem in my living room. My overhead lights, my spotlights are the fuse blew or something. I don't have, my overhead lights don't work. And when it gets dark, since the beginning of the meeting, it's gotten darker. And I don't have enough light on my computer to show me properly. And that's why you're seeing this ghost.
He's in the Twilight Zone.
It's the floating head of Drew.
Because my living room is dark right now.
You mentioned that you've come up with a replacement for Evernote, and I didn't catch the name of that. If you would repeat that, please, slowly.
I didn't hear a word you just said. It was all garbled.
Stan, it's called Joplin. Joplin.
Oh, Joplin. Joplin.
I'm still not.
Yes, Joplin is it's like Microsoft OneNote. Joplin is like Microsoft OneNote or Evernote, and it's a cross multi-platform tool that lets you take notes in Markdown format, and it runs on Windows. It has a native software for Windows, Linux, Mac, Android, and iPhone, and it by default gives you the option to synchronize either through Microsoft OneDrive or through the Joplin servers that you would pay for. And the monthly fee is a fraction of what Evernote charges for their server, but it's not as robust as Evernote is. So that's why I was looking to self-host it. But Joplin's a great program. If you need a note-taking program and you want to keep yourself organized and have everything sync between all your devices, I'm typing into my Windows computer now, and it'll replicate to OneDrive. It every 5 minutes it synchronizes automatically to OneDrive, and then the next time I move to my other computer or my cell phone, it'll sync down. If you have your own Joplin server, you can share notes with other people on the internet, and you can collaborate more than you can. You're kind of isolated to yourself when you're using Joplin, synchronizing it on your own cloud drive. You can't send somebody a hyperlink, for example, to a document or send them a web page. If you have your own Joplin server, you can have all of the benefits of paying for their hosting service. And I'm sort of trying to decide whether and all of the time and aggravation to set it up.
Dick Vogel had his hand up. Dick, you have a question or comment?
I have a message
Just pay somebody.
showed up in the top right-hand corner. It says 13 minutes left in the meeting.
I got the same thing.
I'm seeing that too.
Mine says 15. Well, let me get the link if we want.
Mine says 12.
All right, I'll get the link in case we want to hang on. Keep going. I'll put it in chat.
A minute later.
Yeah, let me find it.
Drew, you mentioned Vault Warden.
Yeah, I have these. I'm using on my Windows and my phone the real Bitwarden software. When I log into the Vault Warden server software, it says Bitwarden on it. And it looks just like the Bitwarden server. If you were to go to their website and log in with a Bitwarden account, it looks just like it. It is it.
How do you access
just
your
running on
server? How do you access the Vault Warden server when you're not at home? Do you have a VPN or something?
Well, my plan, once it's off the virtual machine and into a real production environment, is to use, I'll be setting up dynamic DNS with port forwarding. So, Drew's house at asus.com will be on port 9001, will be my Nextcloud server. On port 6053 will be the Bitwarden server. And I'll have, I'll be able to access my data from anywhere.
Are you concerned at all about port forwarding to opening up your firewall for that?
Well, no, because I'm going to have a random port number forwarded from my router here in my living room to the NAS server. I don't see any problems with an encrypted connect. As long as I use encryption and I've got passwords set up for everything, I don't see a problem with it.
Okay.
I just put the chat invitation and I'll send it to the Techsig also.
All the software is free. Just copying the chat out of the but yeah, I'm going to all of the servers that TrueNet. Do you want to try? We only have 10 minutes left. If we get into the next section of the meeting, I can share my screen for a few minutes, and you can see what the TrueNAS server looks like and how easy the management console is. It's really it takes literally no more than a few minutes to set up a server that would normally take you hours and days to figure out how to set up. They have it all pre-configured for you, and you just click on. If you go to, I'll put the link in the chat. There's TrueNAS has, I think it's TrueNAS.com/apps or something to that effect, and you can see the list of apps that they have. And it's a rather impressive list. It's TrueNAS.com/apps, APPS, and it has 106 apps in there, and it has, for example, LibreOffice is in there. You can actually run a LibreOffice server and have a cloud-based, almost like Microsoft Office Online, only it's LibreOffice Online.
Pretty cool. Are you using Pi-hole?
No. But you get Nextcloud and Plex and SyncThing and Joplin. They're all pre-canned servers that TrueNAS distributes for free. And you just have to click and load them. And the hard part is getting all of the certificates, lined up right so that you have it working in an encrypted fashion.
Right. You may consider, instead of port forwarding, you may consider something like a Tailscale or Zero Tier. And if you've got that running on your phone or your computer and you're not at home, you just use the local, use the the zero or the tail scale address. And then you're
What
not
I- what I-
opening.
Another thing that I might do actually that is more secure is I'm a subscriber to NordVPN, and NordVPN has, as part of its package, a private encrypted tunnel that they called MeshNet, and I can open a private encrypted tunnel from my phone to a machine in my house. If I run NordVPN on the Proxmox server, and I can create a private encryption tunnel, I won't have to do any port forwarding. I'll basically have a direct private link over NordVPN directly to the server, that's what I'm going to do.
That'd be my preference. I use zero tier extensively and some tail scale, and it works pretty well. I've got tail scale set up between my router at home. My router is called PFSense. So I have the tail scale installed on that, and then I've got tail scale installed on my dad's PFSense at his house in Illinois. And I can actually print right to his printer up there. I mean, and I can access the computer.
Yeah.
I can access any of those things. It's pretty handy.
Yeah, I have Nord has a proprietary protocol for their VPN, and if you run that proprietary protocol on all of your devices, you can have each of them join this private MeshNet network, so that I could be anywhere in the world and I'm on the same private IP network as the PC is in my house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like the same thing.
So if I were in Europe,
on Nord?
I could watch Netflix in Europe, for example, because I could route all my traffic. One of the features that they have is you can say, I could decide which one of my computers I want to route my traffic through. So if I were traveling in Europe, I could simply say to the machine that I'm on, route all the traffic through the PC in the house, and it'll stream all of the Netflix movies through my house. And as far as Netflix is concerned, I'm at home.
Can I get you all to hold that thought and switch over to meeting number 2, which is up? The link's in chat if you didn't get it. And I also sent it out to the Techsig.
Sure.
Oh,
I'm going to be
and then this
stopping.
chat's going to disappear.
I'm going to stop recording now, and
Okay,
I'm not sure how
I'm
long it take before
recording
I can join you. I'm a couple of minutes late. I'll be right back with you. Okay, and here's recording stopped. You receive an email notification once the recording is ready.